Hello learners, I'm Rita Josephine Rozario. Today I am going to talk about how to analyze a bar chart or graph. There are several reasons why people are analyzing a bar chart. It can be for report writing, it can be for business purposes, it can be for academic purposes as well. Today my focus is going to be on academic purposes. It's quite difficult really, but whatever is difficult, there is some solution as well. But when we start writing, before we start writing, we have to plan, we have to write, we have to check, we have to practice until and unless we are able to write accurately and quickly within a particular time period. Now let us see how we can carry on our analyzing a bar chart. Today we are going to talk about a bar chart analysis by looking at certain points. First, we have to think about certain questions which is going to give us the idea about the bar chart. Then we are going to get familiarized with a graph, then observe an example of a bar chart, learn some useful information and vocabularies, prepare a model description, and check the grammar and spellings as well. Now let's take a look at the chart. We are going to find out different points about the chart and try to analyze the chart for ourselves and check it, and also we are going to check the vocabularies as well. Whenever we start analyzing a bar chart for academic purposes, certainly we are going to get a question. Here we have study the chart and summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Here the subject that we are going to write about is more education, better healthcare, and certain information that we are going to get about it, that we have to ask certain questions for ourselves. It is not necessary that you have to write the questions. It is just first when you practice, you write the questions and find out the answers. Then gradually after practicing, you don't need to write the questions, but try to find out the information for yourself, so you get easy when you are framing the structure and composing the lines that you are going to write about. That way it will be easier for you. Now let us take a look at the information that we have to get from this form. First of all, we have to find out what kind of data has been provided. It can be a bar chart, it can be a pie chart, it can be a line graph, it can be a map, or it can be a table. In our case, obviously this is a bar chart. Which unit of measurement has been used? It can be amount, it can be number, it can be age, time, or percentage as well. Over here, what we have is the percentage. How many groups or categories are presented? That means how many types, people, or countries are presented in the bar chart. In this bar chart, we are having different sorts of educational status. None is referring to illiterate people, then primary education, then secondary or higher education. What influences the data? Education, age, time, or finance. Obviously, we are having 5 countries where mothers are being influenced by their standard of education. What time period has been reflected? Obviously, the data has been collected from certain period of time. If it is past, then we have to use the past tense. If it is present, we have to use the present tense. If it is future, then we have to use the future tense in case of our writing. So obviously, since the source is given from 1995, it is the past tense that we have to use in this case. What is the general trend? Increase, decrease, or fluctuation. Over here it is clearly seen that it is increasing for all the countries along with the grade of education. Is there any similarities or differences or comparisons? Of course, in between the countries There are similarities, also differences. So when we are going to write the graph, we have to keep in mind all these points and start writing and after gathering all the information. It would be better for us if we start our writing. And when we start our writing, it should follow a certain structure. First of all, we have to start with introduction. Then we are going to give the overview, then feature 1 and feature 2. Overview, feature 1 and feature 2, combinedly these three are going to form the body of the writing that we are going to compose. Now let us look at the introduction that we are going to frame. We have to follow certain points when we are starting to write our introduction. Let me first read whatever I have written. The bar chart reflects the rate of childbirth under proper medical care taken by mothers with different standard of education. According to World Conference on Education for All 1995, the literate mothers are more likely to seek modern healthcare facilities for their newborn babies. If we notice, this introduction is very brief, just 2 lines over here. So the first thing we have to remember is we have to be very brief. Introduction is going to elaborate the name of the data or the chart that we are having. Then type of the graph we have to describe. This one is the bar chart which we have mentioned over here. Then after referring to the graph or the bar chart that we are having, the word that we must use is that reflects. This can be the synonymous word also. It can be used as described, it can be illustrated, it can be projected. Whatever you are comfortable with, you can use in this place. What is the content of our graph? The rate of childbirth under proper medical care taken by mothers with different standard of education. This is the thing that we are going to narrate over here. And of course the ratio. And then if we have the source of the data, we can write in the introduction. But I have to mention it that if we don't have the source, we don't have to mention it in case of introduction as well. This is not mandatory. It's the choice. Then we have to talk about the group, what we are going to write, about who we are going to write. This is the mothers that are going to take the health care in case of their newborn babies. So when we are forming our introduction, we have to follow all these points that we are going to write. It has to be very brief. We have to be very cautious what we are writing about. Introduction should not be giving any more detail than I have discussed already. Now, overview. The word itself is saying that we are going to give a brief look at the thing that we are going to write about. We are not going to give any detail. Let's see. In general, the projected data shows that in all 3 continents, mothers with higher education prefer to take medical assistance at the time of their accouchement than that of less educated mothers. In Ghana, neonates receive least medical care regardless of schooling standard of their mothers, which is exactly opposite in Tunisia. So if you just take a look, whenever we are starting the overview, one word that we have to use, that is in general, or we can write overall. The beginning is telling the reader that we are going to give the general idea about the writing that we are going to write. In all 3 continents, there is no mention of the continents over here, but from our common sense we know that these 3 countries are coming from Africa, this one is from America, and this one is from Asia. So we are making the short form of it and using 3 continents. Now who we are going to talk about? Mothers with different category of education. And the thing that we are going to talk about, the medical assistance at the time of their childbirth. So what we are going to write in overview is that just the major trends. We are going to give just 2 to 4 key features. No number, percentage or data should be given in the overview. It should contain only the general information that is given in the chart. When we are over with that part, we are going to move on to describing the feature 1. Here I have written the feature 1 like this. In the horizontal axis of the chart, 5 countries are presented with mothers having no education, primary education, secondary or higher education. The vertical axis conveys the ratio percentage of childbirth with trained assistance. From the first columns, it is evident that illiterate mothers of Indonesia rarely sought medical help, while 22% newborn received it in Ghana and Mali. On the contrary, 60% Tunisian baby saw the light of the world with proper medical care, though their mothers were not educated. But the number hit 10% low in Peru. If you just take a look at the thing closely, you are going to find out that there is a specific details and logical order has been maintained in writing. The number and percentage has been used. There is compare and contrast as well as the similarities are reflected in the writing. Now take a look at the chart over here. This purple color is reflecting the mothers, those who are having no education. Ghana and Mali are having mothers, those who are going for almost similar sort of healthcare from trained assistance newborn babies. And in case of Indonesia, this is very low. So we are having a comparison. Again, if you just take a look at Peru, it is less than that of Tunisia. So when I'm going to write this one, I'm not going to repeat the same thing. That's why I have avoided certain things. Now let's take a look at this thing. From the first column, it is evident that illiterate mothers of Indonesia rarely. Compared to other countries, Indonesian mothers have taken very poor number of mothers went to the medical for their newborn babies. So I did not use 10% or whatever the percentage might be. I have used the word rarely. While, which is going opposite, 22% newborn received it in Ghana and Mali. Both the countries have received the same percentage, so I have put them together. And showing the contrast over here, I have used the word on the contrary. Compared to 22%, 60% is quite high. So, on the contrary, this word has been used. 60% Tunisian babies saw the light of the world. Light of the world is replacing the word newborn babies or medical care, newborn babies. This is also the similar thing that's happening over here with proper medical care though their mothers were not educated. But the number hit 10% low. Now, look at this sentence. In case of Peru, this is almost 10% lower than that of Tunisia. So I did not mention here 50% or 55%. I just have said that, but the number hit 10% low in Peru. If we can compose in this way, that makes the reader sure that you know how to make the writing more pleasant to read. And the techniques makes you that you are more competent and you have practiced, you have almost achieved the accuracy of writing and you are able to write whatever you want to write. After completing feature 1, we are going to move on to feature 2. Almost similar sort of technique has been used for this one as well. Similarities has been observed between Ghana and Indonesia in case of mothers with primary education. Both groups had 40% newborn under proper health care, whereas the rate varied 18% for mothers with secondary education, which stood at 60% and 78% respectively. Resemblance has also been found between mothers with primary education in Mali and Peru, which stood 60%. Moreover, along with upgradation of education, the hospitalization increased in these two countries, which turned out to be 98% and 80% respectively. However, the African state Tunisia holds the topmost record of following the proper medical guidance to welcome their newborn, which is 80% for citizens with primary education and 12% higher than that in case of people with secondary or tertiary education. If we look at this one, specific details has been given, logical order has been maintained. Again, number and percentage is given over here, compare and contrast, similarities, and of course, no conclusion. Because this is the end of the analysis or description of the bar chart analysis that we are going to do. First of all, I have started with similarities. And next, I have used the word resemblance. These are the same sort of meaning that is bearing. But if I am using this other word or synonymous word, the writing is good. Then, Ghana and Indonesia in case of mothers with primary education. They are having almost the same sort of thing. If you just take a look at this point, you are going to find out that this is the same scale. So, I have put them together. And the next one is going opposite to it, whereas the rate varied. 18% for mothers. I did not mention the number here. I just have compared how much more or less. With secondary education, which stood 60% and 70% respectively. The same country, I did not repeat the name of the country here. Next, resemblance has also been. This also is showing that we are talking about another one that might have the similarities as well. Mali and Peru, which stood 60%. So this one is also having some similarity. So we can be clear that these two countries are having similarity and these two are having the similarity, which stood 60%. That makes the writing helps to avoid the repetitions that might be boring for the reader or the word limit might cross. So it is going to help you find out. That's why at the beginning I have said that you have to take a look at the chart very carefully. If you write down the informations beforehand, then it will be easy for you to write the things easily. Then using another linking word, moreover. Along with upgradation of education, the hospitalization. Now I have not written that trained medical assistants. Obviously, this is the hospitalization that we are talking about. Using different sorts of vocabulary makes your writing more attractive. These two countries, not the name of the countries that I have written, and just given the numbers over here. After describing about these things, I'm moving on to Tunisia. Tunisia is from Africa, so I have used this word as well. This is giving the reader the idea that you know a lot about the countries from which continent they are from. So I'm writing Africa and Tunisia, and I'm talking just about Tunisia because this is the one having the best record. Tunisia hold the topmost record. This one is also another word that is going to make your writing, these sort of words are going to make your writing very much attractive or readable to the one whoever is checking the paper, or in case of scoring, these are going to help you get better score. Following the proper medical guidance. Here also I have, instead of hospitalization, here I have used medical guidance. So different types of vocabulary, if you feel comfortable with it, it'll be better for your scoring as well. To welcome their newborn, this one is also a different sort of writing. So another word, if you look here, tertiary education. Here they have given secondary or higher education. We all know that whatever we study after secondary education, those higher education is compared to tertiary education. So if you can write these things nicely and confidently, of course you need a little bit practice. There is nothing to worry about the things that you are going to write about. First time you are not going to do good. Second time it's going to be of course better. Next time it is going to be far better, and more you practice, more perfection that you are going to reach. And of course, if you keep on practicing, if you keep on practicing, if you keep on correcting, you are going to get the goal that you are looking for. If we just put the thing together, the thing that we have discussed is going to look like this. More education, better healthcare. And the rest of it, I have just put them together. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. Already I have discussed about it. If you get time, you just take a look at this one, and I hope this is going to help you find out your own way to write the bar chart or analyze the bar chart and graph and achieve the goal that you want to get. We are having a tough time right now, but whatever you are doing, whatever you are living, stay home, stay safe. All of us are going to have good time again. And at home, you practice, you just do the things that gives you pleasure and be happy. Thank you very much.